This is Dan of Vagabond Buddha. I'm in the park running in Malaysia. And in the present moment, in the Buddhist sense, I'm surrounded by nature. And I thought it might be useful to have a conversation, if I can do it, about how being in the present moment reminds me of how a computer works in some ways. And it's just an analogy, it's not perfect, but I'd like to share it with you. And as I do this, I'll be going back and forth from my history, which is a mind function, and being in the present moment of this day in the park. So a computer has a memory, and it has programs, and it has an operating system. An operating system takes a program from memory and puts it in the processor, which begins to execute instructions. And those programs, when they're executing, have control of the processor. And I'm going to call the processor the human mind when it's running a program. So let's pick a program of some kind. Let's say an accounting system program. So when the operating system puts an accounting program into memory, the processor thinks in the metaphysical sense that it is an accounting program. And it executes steps that the accounting software tells it to execute. It believes it's an accounting program. Its mind thinks it's an accounting program. And when that accounting program runs normally, everything works fine. But if the accounting program gets caught in an infinite loop, then trouble may start. An infinite loop is a malfunction where a series of instructions keep repeating over and over again without resolution. The program is stuck. It can cause physical pain to the computer, such as overheating or thrashing through pages of executable instructions in and out of memory fashion. It can overheat, which I will call emotional pain, and it can thrash, which I'll call another kind of emotional pain, or possibly even physical pain, more of a physical nature of pain. Eventually, something will interrupt the computer, such as a restart button, and it will recover and start over or run another program. The same is with humans. You will be stuck in thought about something, and then the phone rings and you become another program, such as a friend program talking on the phone to a friend. And so, as a human being, we go from program to program. We have a program about our work, with people at work, who we like, who we don't like. We have a program about our finances, what investments are doing well, which are doing poorly, to whom do we owe money. We have programs about our family. Our mother was this way to us, our father was that way. We have programs about friends. My best friend did me wrong or did me right. We have programs about house cleaning, social events, sex, money, relationships, religion. And all of these programs have data, and they access that data when they're running to determine what we are. We think we're that program when it's running. We're a friend, we're a boss, we're a spouse, we're a customer. And what we believe, religion, social justice, political, each program has memory it goes to find out who you are. So that is the human condition. So your operating system goes from program to program, and from time to time, there's a pattern interrupt for some reason that switches which program is running in your mind, whether a telephone call, an emergency request, an interrupted pattern of thought. In computers, those interrupts are sometimes called flags. The flags tell the processor it needs to look at something and see what needs to be done. A flag is thrown and the processor reads the flag and understands that there's some pending emergency. That must be attended to now, and the processor begins running that program. So before switching to run a higher priority program, the processor saves the present program it's currently running, and the operating system puts the new program in the processor. Programs with higher priority get control of the processor, often because of an emergency. An emergency is a time-sensitive thing that needs to be done now, so a flag is thrown. Often higher priority things are something that you may already be upset about, something that needs to be fixed. So the human computer goes from program to program, operating system programs, memory programs, virus protections, and a mind-identified human often runs one program after another. Some of these are upsetting programs because they are unable to drive to immediate resolution. Many human programs are unable to solve the problem they are working on. So the human gets caught in an infinite loop or begins thrashing because the program they're running can't find a solution to the problem. Maybe they don't control all of the factors that could be used to solve the problem, like in work relationships or personal relationships where other people have other ideas about solutions to the problem. So the human keeps going back over the data, the facts, over and over again, looking for a solution, a strategy, and trying to figure out how to drive other people to their solution, the solution they want. So that is, in my world, my analogy, how your mind works. And what enlightenment is, what being in the present moment is noticing that you have a master process running silently in the background that is just data gathering and listening to the human mind or the human processor as it tries to solve a problem over and over again. And the pain comes because that master process has a broader view of your life and it understands that you're in this pain. And it's painful for it to watch you in these infinite loops and thrashing. And so enlightenment is becoming self-aware of your master process. Enlightenment is perceiving that you have an existing master process already running silently in your life, in the background. The master process merely observes that you're running one process after another, some of which are causing you pain, and that there may not be much joy in your life. And in fact, if you find yourself running processes over and over again that are thrashing or in an infinite loop, your daily joy is greatly drained. Your processing resources are overworked, your batteries are drained, and your mind is overheated. Some people even have a nervous breakdown. Most people don't get to that point. Most people just suffer through a more moderate version of infinite loops and page thrashing. And thrashing through your memory pages back and forth because the program that you're running can't solve the problem. No matter how hard you try, the program from memory doesn't have the data or the steps to solve the problem. And so the program doesn't solve the problem. And so what enlightenment is an understanding that it's an observation that your mind is running one of these after another and creating pain in your life. You can have an awakening or a new listening, which is somewhat akin to stepping back and just watching your mind do its thing, watching it run these programs, watching it strategize, watching the pain. You can also awaken in silence. That's when you don't have one of your mind programs running. So the processor is in a purely data gathering mode. The data just keeps coming in, but you're not processing the data with any mind program. It's like you're buffering the data. An awakened state may start with moments of time when you are new at it. Eventually you can gain complete control with your master process for minutes or hours or weeks or whatever you are presently able to do. Not running programs, just idling the processor and observing the pattern interrupts that are trying to get your mind to run one of these painful processes. Your mind would like to take your present moment of being and run a mind process definition of yourself that is found in one of these mind processes. So it would like to take the tension away from your master process and make you believe that it was one of those mind functions. Your being goes from the joy of being in the present moment and observing what is happening in your body. The process of just receiving incoming data, perceiving incoming information without processing, perceiving what's typed on the computer, or perceiving what data is coming in over the network, ears, sights, through your ears, your sight, sound, smells. and maybe just buffering it all this data. Your master process just buffers the data so it is there when it's time to run a mind process. But the master process can just freely observe and does not necessarily need to invoke a purposeful program to interpret the buffered data. It's just observing it. That's what enlightenment is. It's a master process. It chooses whether or not it's going to define itself in the given moment based upon any process it may choose to run or not run. And then later, as you develop your master process, you'll have the ability to run each of these self-defining programs within the environment of the master process, almost like a sandbox, and observe it as it runs. And notice sooner when a program is running in the infinite loop and that pain has started. Or notice when page thrashing has started because of the pain itself. When you have moments that are not joyful, that's a signal to your master process. If the master process runs a human mind program, like say a program called relationship, while it watches it run, then the master process can interrupt the program if it becomes painful. So the process doesn't have to sit there and writhe in pain as it watches the relationship program thrash or run an infinite loop. So the states of being are the mind state, running one program after another without any control, just switching programs whenever there's a pattern interrupt or flag that changes from one self-defining program to another. This is the state of thinking that you are your mind. That thinking what your mind is thinking is who you are. Then there's the master process running a mind process. This is an awareness that you are not your mind and that you have a choice of whether or not to run the program you're running now or the next one when there's an interrupt or an emergency calling for another mind process. And then there's the master process running in the observational mode. This is the state of just being present as a master processor, enjoying the beingness of being a computer without running a program that has a purpose. And that's what being in the present moment is. It's enjoying the park as you walk through it without purpose. Just being in the surroundings while breathing in the joy of the present moment and when it's appropriate. When you get to the point where it's time to run a program, sometimes you have to balance the checkbook, sometimes you have to interact with the world in a new way. That has the potential of running a program from your past that causes you pain. And instead of giving that process entire control of your entire ecosystem, give it a sandbox to run in and maintain master process awareness. Remain present as you run that program and watch to see if there's pain. So you have a choice to switch programs or do nothing and be in the present moment when one of the programs throws an infinite loop flag or starts thrashing. And so from a computer scientist perspective, how to run your brain is analogous with present computerized systems. Network interactions between people, and it's scientifically observable within your own body. You can, if you are able, to raise your awareness and look and see, is any of this true? Is any of this happening inside of you? So back to my full-time master process in observational mode. Time to enjoy this gorgeous park here in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. This is Dan from Vagabond Buddha. Thanks for stopping by.